All right, I think we're live. Let's just check over here on YouTube and see what's going on. Oh, there I am. Yeah, we're going to mute that because I'm getting weird feedback. All right. Hey, everybody. I've had a ton of people asking me to do a video on how to create a WordPress theme in Pinegrow. And rather than create a produced video and all the stuff that comes along with that, I should just do it live. So welcome to my first YouTube Live. This is either going to be a complete shit show or it's going to be totally awesome. We'll see how this goes. Hey, Emmanuel, you can hear me. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so this is just 100% unscripted, impromptu YouTube Live. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. As a matter of fact, I'm actually going to be using a framework that I've never touched before, because I typically am a Tailwind person, but for this purpose, I think I'm going to use Bootstrap, since it's going to make theming just a little bit easier. So thank you, Emmanuel, for being around. Maybe you can jump in and tell me when I'm screwing things up really bad. All right, I'm going to do this inside of the Pinegrow WordPress plugin. So we may see some bugs while we're here. But I figure I'll do it this way so that anybody that's interested in Pinegrow WordPress can also see what's going on, and they can see that this is no different than using the real live desktop version of Pinegrow. All right, let me get my OBS window and all the other stuff out of the way. Get everything where it needs to be, and we can rock and roll. All right, so like I was saying, I'm here inside of my Pinegrow beta site, and I haven't done any prep work on this other than just taking a few notes for my own use. And I'm going to fire up a new project. I've got the latest Pinegrow plugin loaded. Do I even have the latest one loaded? Let's find out. Yep. 10107, got it. And I would love to see this beta out to the public sometime soon. I know there's still some work that needs to happen on the Pinegrow side of things, but this product is just so cool. And having it inside of WordPress just makes it so much easier. All right, so we'll fire off a new project, do a blank Bootstrap 5 project. And I'm going to save it. So I'm going to say YouTube Live theme, rename it. All right. Excuse me. So a little bit of background here. The only thing that you really need to understand, oh, hello. I have all the Pinegrow people showing up today. Yeah, so the things that you really need to understand about doing a theme in Pinegrow for WordPress are HTML, CSS, and the WordPress hierarchy. Let me just pull that up. So what this is just talking about the templates and the different template files that you need to create to control different things. As a matter of fact, let's do this. I'm going to do a quick, I'll fire up Elementor to kind of show you how another page builder does this. And then we'll go over to Pinegrow, which does it the way that WordPress does it. Which I've always found really funny that you know, everyone knows the way that page builders do it, but everyone seems to have forgotten the way that WordPress actually works as a theme, as a theme. So yeah, so with Elementor, I don't want to do a pop-up, I want to do a template. It will hit their page builder. With Elementor, you go to the page builder and you've got these different site parts that you're creating: header, footer, single post, single page, an archive, which is kind of like a you know, your blog page, search results page, and a 404 page. Coming back here to the hierarchy, just make this smaller so we can sort of see them side by side. WordPress defines these things as different PHP files that traditionally you would come into PHP and you would write these different templates out. But with Pinegrow, I don't need to worry about that. I can just design it all in the Pinegrow editor, and it worries about creating the PHP for me in the back end. So makes life super easy. Now, the thing about something like Elementor is that if you don't create one of these, it's got some things that were already set for you. So, if you don't create a 404 page, it's going to use its own little default, and you don't ever need to worry about it. Same thing with single page and single post. It just kind of uses default dummy ones that are in there. When you're creating a WordPress theme, you actually need to create each one of these things yourself. You don't have to create all of these different things because they're, it's a hierarchy. It kind of flows down. You absolutely need to create your index PHP. And then, if you want an archive page, then you would create either archive PHP that would cover all these other things. Or you could create an archive PHP as a catch-all and then like a category PHP just to handle your categories, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of neat how you can sit there and you can get very specific as to which template you want to create, or you can come all the way over here to the left and get very, very broad. This thing right here, this single graphic is probably the most complicated part of creating a theme, unless you don't know any type of PHP programming. In terms of creating a theme in Pinegrow, once you understand this, everything else becomes pretty darn easy. So I might be referring back to this a few times. So what am I going to create? What are the general templates that I like to create? Well, like I said, we definitely need to create an index.php because that's kind of our catch-all. We want a header and footer, and you'll see how Pinegrow makes that just super simple, and you really don't even need to do anything. I create a front page.html. So let's come down here. That's this site front page, front-page.php. And this is going to be the page that everyone hits when they go to, www.yoursite.com. So I always make sure that I make a front page HTML file. A home.php, and let's see if I find that here. This covers the blog index page. So if I go to, mysite.com/blog, that's what's going to pick up on this home.php. What's the other one that I do? I will do a page.html. So that is going to be my general template for creating a page. I'll do a post.html. That's my general template for a post. I will do a search.html, which is going to be my search results page. And I'll do a singular.html. Why do I do a singular.html? I have no idea why I still do a singular HTML. Because I'm already doing a page.php. The singular really just picks up on all this stuff over here that could easily be captured by a single.php. So maybe I will update my internal documents so that instead of doing singular, I'm just doing a single.php and a page.php. So what do I have? I've got my index. I'll have my archive. I'll have my single, my page, a home, a front page, a 404.php, and a search.php. Those are the templates that I use as a starting point for almost any theme that I'm creating. So how do I do that inside of Pinegrow? Come on over here, and we already have our index.html loaded when we started up the new project. So for this, I want it to have my header, my footer, and just the stuff that is going to be common across the whole site. So rather than create all that myself, I'm going to use some of these blocks that are already created for me. So I'll come down here to the insert menu, and this is where we would find all the different elements that we can use on the website. I could write some code in here and drag and drop it if I want. I can use Pug. Thank you very much for including this. If I want to create a bunch of elements in shorthand and drag them on at once, it's awesome. And then we've got a whole library of elements that, things that you use every day and things that you probably don't even know about in here. Got images for my media library, blocks. These are kind of component blocks that are done in Bootstrap. I've got components. These are all Bootstrap components. And like I said, when I started this thing, I don't know Bootstrap. I'm pretty sure I used it a few years ago, so maybe I'll remember some of this. But please, don't critique me on my lack of Bootstrap knowledge here. So I'm just going to start off with blocks, and we'll come over here to a header, and I'm going to do a default menu. So I'm just going to grab this and drag it over here to my body, and that gives me my nav bar. Then I want to create a, oh, do we have a hero block underneath that, which I'm not going to do because I'll do that inside of one of my page templates. So I just have my nav bar, and I will do a footer. Well, I know we have footers with Tailwind. Why am I missing them? Probably because I'm live and panicking. Here we go, footers. And I'll just use footer block 1. I'll grab it and drag it in there. All right, so now I have my nav bar, I have my footer, and right between there, I'm going to add another section that is going to, and if you see me looking off to the side, it's because I'm looking at another site that I'm actively working on right now. So I'm just going to grab a section from over here, and I will find it under, start typing, layouts section, put it right there. And in this section, I'm going to add a word, well, I'm going to activate WordPress first. So let's activate this theme, and I'm just going to call this YouTube Live. I'll give the theme slug. Got my master page already preset for me. Theme version 1.0.0. It's going to auto increment it for me. Cool. Save that, export it. Come in, make sure that there's nothing else that I need to set. Sizes are all good. Editor style sheet. I know that we're going to be doing some editor style sheets coming up that are going to be automatically set. I don't know what I need to do now, though. We'll find out when I screw it up. If I was doing a Tailwind theme, I would just grab my Tailwind, a special Tailwind CSS file that's created for me, but it's not going to work that way now. So I'll come over here to section. Now that I've created my WordPress theme settings, I've got all these different WordPress actions that I can use. And the one that I want is called site content. So that's not under theme setup. It's right here under site. I've got to go down to site content. This is probably good for the Pinegrow team too, to see me doing this in real time so that they can see what kind of workflow at least I have and other people might struggle with. So take notes, guys. All right, so I've created this site content. And this is a really special WordPress action because what it does is it defines what's going to be on my site. Basically, anything that's above this gets put into header.php. Anything below this goes into a footer.php. So let's go ahead and, now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should have done this with the desktop version of Pinegrow so that we could look at all these files as they're being created. But too late now. So I'm just going to export this theme and we'll come over to the dashboard. Make sure that I don't have any kind of weird plugins loaded. All I have on here is Pinegrow and my SMTP plugin. For themes, here's my YouTube Live theme. Let's activate it. And you notice I don't have anything, no thumbnail or anything in there. I haven't even put my name or anything in there. It's just a pretty blank, boring thing. I'll create a new page. Home YouTube theme, publish that. Got nothing in there. And I'll make this my home page. Over to reading. Home YouTube theme. All right. Now my home page is home YouTube theme, and I've got a post page for blogs. When I visit the site, we'll see that the header that I put shows up in the header. My footer shows up in the footer, and everything else is pretty static because I haven't actually told WordPress to do anything with this yet. So let's really quickly, we will define a menu here. And okay, we've got the, so this menu is set up as a list, an unordered list, a UL at the top with list items, and then our nav links are all anchors. So this is exactly the way that I want it to be. And I'm going to put my list, my menu right here on the unordered list item. So I'll come over to my WordPress actions, and I'll do menu, and I'll set the location of this menu to be my primary menu. Make sure that I'm actually doing this right. Yep. So looking at the documentation, it does want the menu item on the UL. Of course, I'm panicking because I have Pinegrow watching me live. So I've got this on the UL exactly where it needs to be. And it's going to do a fun thing where it's going to look at the first item in here and use it as a template. So it's going to look at the style of this first item and use it as a template for all the menu items that I have defined inside of my WordPress menus. It's coming back over to delete that. I'll come back over here to customize. I can now set my menu, and I'm going to use this short menu. If anyone's wondering, I've got some dummy data loaded up in this thing, some dummy theme test data. I think I have the theme accessibility test data loaded up. So that's why we have a bunch of weird pages with strange names in them. So I've got this short menu that I've got here, and I'm going to assign this to the primary menu location. Publish. And I want to add my home page. It makes me angry to see my blog page first. I'm just going to call this home. Publish. Boom. Okay. So now we can see that the menu is picking up on my WordPress menus just by adding that menu action to it. So home, we've got the blog page. We'll see that this takes me to my blog 2 page that has no content or anything else in there because it's picking up on my one and only theme, which is this index.html. Every single page is going to look the same. I've got my about the tests, and because I'm using Bootstrap, it's automatically created a drop-down menu for me, so that's pretty sweet. And I've got a lorem ipsum page. So my menu, I'm happy with it. Logo, do I have a logo set here yet? So I have a logo set in my customizer, but I haven't told Pinegrow to do anything with this yet. So that's what I'll do now. We've got our nav bar. Brand. So we have a link around this, and it's just plain text. I actually want to make this a picture. I could use a picture element. I'm going to use the picture element and drag that right underneath my anchor. And I don't want this giant thing. It's automatically going to grab a image from Unsplash for me, which is cool, but kind of a pain in the butt for right now because that's nothing like a logo. So I'm going to grab a image that I have somewhere, all my images. Use one of my logo ipsum logos. There we go. I use it, and you know what? I don't. This is a terrible demonstration logo. Here, I'll use this one because at least it looks different. So I'll use this one for the demonstration. You can see that the one I have inside of my customizer is a lot different. It's just plain gray and white. This one's color. I'm going to take the text away from here. And again, none of this is going to be accessible or anything like that. This is, quick and dirty, make it happen. So I've got my picture element. I've got an image in there, right down there. It's going to pull the alt text from the media library. And now what I want to do is I want to tell it I want to give a WordPress action on here. Of site logo. I got to put that on the anchor though. Site logo. Boom. I like to look at the code every now and then, so I'm going to hit this preview button, and it's going to just call the get custom logo function. Export that theme. And now you can see that it's pulled my site logo from the customizer, not the one that I have here inside of Pinegrow, because this, anything that I create here inside Pinegrow, this is all dummy data. this is just for design time. Anything that I put a WordPress action on is going to get replaced by live information from Pinegrow, from my WordPress. Thank you, Emmanuel. Yes, you can share this wherever you want to share it. Unless I screw it up and delete it later on. All right. So now we've got our logo here. It's showing up in the front end. I've got a basic header set up. And I said that this would have been cool had I done it in the desktop so that we could see the files live. So I'm going to just take this and I'm going to log into my server so that we can at least poke our heads in and look at the file. So what is my user? Sites. All right, there we go. So now I'm logged into my server. I'll go to my WP content, themes, and when I list this, you'll see that I've got the themes that are listed in there, and it's created a directory called YouTube Live. So when I go into there, we've got the files that we would create if we were building this thing by hand. So what it's done is it's created our index.php. We'll take a look at that. And like I said before, it doesn't do anything. All it does is it calls my header and my footer, because I have absolutely no content right now inside of this. Close up for you. Inside of this site content. If I had something in here, then we would see some content inside of it, but we don't. So it's only calling my header and my footer. So let's pop open a header and footer PHP file. Open up the header, and we can see this is the PHP file for the header. So it's got Bootstrap related stuff in there. This PG Smart Walker nav. This is all the stuff that we need to parse the navigation items that are in my customizer and apply them to the template that we created here inside of Pinegrow that defines the style, the look, and the feel for the menu. So I know a lot of other builders, they've got fancy menu stuff in there, where you've got all sorts of menu templates. You can create mega menus, do all of that. Pinegrow doesn't need any of that stuff because we've got full control over what we do, and we're using regular old WordPress functions to make it all work. So we don't need a custom mega menu builder. We don't need a predefined set of templates with controls on there. We just build the damn thing and we apply a smart action. So again, if you're used to what PHP looks like, this is all standard generic stuff. There's my header. Let's open up our footer. And boom, there's our footer. It's HTML wrapped inside of CSS. No, HTML wrapped inside of PHP. There we go. Anyway, that was a little side break. All right, so I've got my nav bar, my footer. Let's do, for this example, I'm not going to create menus for each of these footers. I could if I wanted to, because again, looking at these footers, they're just lists. So I could create a menu for this footer section, this footer section. I'm not doing all that. What I think I will do though is something. I'll save this for a real tutorial. If I wanted to, I could create some sections here in the customizer so that we can set some global properties. So maybe if I wanted a way for people to customize this paragraph text that's in the footer, I could just set actually, that's not a terrible idea. Let's just do it. All right. This is me fumbling. All right, so here we go. I've got this section in my footer that I want to be able to be customized using our WordPress customizer. I'm going to come into our smart action and I'm going to create a customizer section. I'll call this my super original names. I'll call this section IDs, YT change me. That's terrible. And the title is YouTube theme custom. And that defines the field. Let me refresh. Yeah, we're not going to see it because I don't have any fields in there. Let's add a customizer field though. This is going to be, call this footer paragraph. You can also see that I can't type. And I'm going to change this. I'm going to add this to my section YT change me. And we're going to edit this as content. If I wanted to, I could make it an image, text color. I could have a color picker for those kind of things. I can make this a link, all sorts of craziness. I just want to add it as content. And I'm going to use a text area field. I could also add conditions to it, so that's pretty cool. Export, refresh. Now you can see that it's added this section here, my customizer, so that when I change this text here, it's changing it in my theme, or it's changing it inside my footer. There we go. With a few clicks of a button, I've now added a customizer section and a customizer field. And as I showed you here, we've got a bunch of different stuff that we can use, that we can make these customizer fields edit. So this is a great way to add global styles for different things, to make things that are editable by your clients. One of the things that I like to put in is I'll do a fallback image. So for hero sections, a lot of times people want to have images in there, or even for their thumbnail images for pages. I will write a function in there that has a fallback image if they forget to define one. It'll be a logo or something like that, and I just tap that in to say whenever I call up the page thumbnail, if it doesn't exist, grab my fallback image instead. Another thing that I like to do is add a control in there that lets the person do page by page control of their hero size. Whether they want it to be a skinny hero that's like a minimum of 200 pixels tall, or if they want it to be a thicker one that's like 25% of the page height. I'll just put that in as a custom field. I guess that wouldn't go in the global, but the global, that would go in as a custom field per page. Anyway, global can have a bunch of stuff, site colors, things like that we could reference later on. But yeah, stuff like this that's in the footer that's going to be on every page. This is always good to have. Social links are good. Contact information is good. Paragraph text like this, those are all good things to have inside of your customizer. Right, enough of that. So that's our index. Doesn't need much more than this. Next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to just do a page.php. So looking at, did I close this already? I'll go to wphierarchy.com. Looking at our hierarchy, we've got archive. This, I hate creating these, so I'll save that for later. Single.php, this is going to be for my singular pages, and page.php. So it's a little bit confusing what they call single. You would think that single.php would be a single page, but it's not. It's actually page.php is your single page. Singular is for things like attachments, for a single post page. I always want to call this post.php and page.php, and it doesn't work that way. But yeah, so I'm going to create my page.php next. Blame this all on WordPress. They're the ones that came up with this confusing naming scheme, not Pinegrow. So let's create a new page. Just going to right click on our project and say add new page. Call it page.html. What I'm making right now are all going to be HTML files, and it is Pinegrow that converts the HTML to PHP. So I've created my page.html. Let's open that up and look at our tree view. By the way, this interface is totally customizable. I like to have things split up like this, where I've got my tree over on one side and all my properties on the other. But you can move sections around however you want them. I could have this, split screen. I could have this, 3 columns here if I wanted to. I'm just going to put it back the way that I had it. You can hide things from the menu. Sorry, things like that. There we go. A little bit different inside of the WordPress plugin. So yeah, I can hide and show different panels. So for example, I'm just going to hide interactions for right now because I don't need that. Anything else that I need to hide? Yeah, we're good. Yeah, I can hide and show different panels to simplify the interface if I wanted to. But right now, I will leave it as is. All right, so page. Page.html has a head that's just got our link to the style.css, and it's got my body. In here, I'm going to create a new section. So you'll notice here, as I'm using different elements, it's populating my recently used. So this makes life pretty easy. I'll grab a section, and I'll put it inside my body. And this is what's going to get this page is not yet configured for WordPress export. So let's go to page settings. There we go. So once I hit that button, it actually added my page settings action to the top of the page to make this a WordPress page. And what it does is it's going to export it by default as the page name.php. Since I named the page page.html, it's going to come out as page.php, and that'll be picked up by WordPress as the page template. By use master page. So by default, that's going to use my index.html, which is set as my master. You can see here in my theme settings. We've got master page is index.html. And it's that master page is what's going to define the header and footer for this particular page. If I wanted to, I could create another master, different master to have different headers and footers for all pages, or different headers and footers for posts, or different groupings of things if I wanted to. But for this, I'm just going to use the one master. For most of the projects, I only use one master. And so I leave this as the default. I don't need to make this a template. I don't need to set anything else here. So now this is done the way I want it. I can hit my section. And I can do site content. So again, this site content is going to define everything above it as the header, everything below it as the footer. And since I'm using this on a page that's not a master, this is kind of cool. I'm going to say apply master page. And it's going to grab the header and footer from my master page and replace my header with the header from the master, and the footer with the footer from the master. Now it's only doing this for my own visual reference, because all that stuff that just happened actually happens when I export it. It happens in real time. So by doing this, if I were to, let's just do it. If I were to get rid of my menu, for example, you would think now if I'm exporting this thing, that it's going to export this page with a footer that has no, and a header that has no menu. But truth be told, it doesn't care what I have above my site content section and below it. It's going to always replace that when I do my export. So let's just do that. Right, so now on there, let's go to a page, my lorem ipsum page. And you can see now I'm on my lorem ipsum page, and I still have everything that's supposed to be there. This would probably be a better demonstration if I had some content to show you. So let's just do that. Let's create a div. Just drop a div in there. I'm going to right click on this thing, insert lorem ipsum text. Export that theme. There we go. Yeah. So now I'm here on my page. I've got some lorem ipsum text. And again, like I said, that menu is still there, even though I deleted it from this page.html, because Pinegrow doesn't care what's actually here on the page. What it cares about is that it's going to be replacing everything above it with my master pages header and everything below it with the master pages footer. I'm just going to come back and say apply master page again, and it's going to overwrite everything again the way that it should, but leave everything that's inside of my site content. It's going to leave that alone. All right. So now I have this section with the site content. I'm going to get rid of this div for right now, and I will just insert another section below that. And this section I want to be, so I want this to be a container. So I'll come over here to my properties. And this is where my unfamiliarity with Bootstrap is going to kick me in the butt here. All right, so I'm looking at my index, and it has all my Bootstrap stuff. Why does page.html not have any of my Bootstrap stuff? Could this be a bug in Pinegrow, or could it be a bug in me? Hey, Miguel. I think this is probably a bug in me. Let's find out. I'll come over here to the design panel, hit activate. Cool. Now I'm curious to see what happens when I do this in the desktop version. Okay, that was really strange. So closing and reopening it brought my Bootstrap properties in. That's let me make note of that to open up a bug. All right, guys. I'll drop that bug in as a bug report later. Okay. That does not happen on the desktop, by the way. So this is, we're still ironing out the bugs in the Pinegrow plugin. All right. Anyway, so I've got my section, and this is getting replaced with anything that's inside of there. And over here, I want to make this a container. I can find how we do containers in Bootstrap. I really should have done this in Tailwind and just dealt with the fact that it doesn't have all the fun components pre-built. I'm just going to add the class. I was going to try to find it in the menu, but yeah, I just add the class container, and now it's contained the width. Yeah, I'm done with that. Cool. Now I've got my container, and I want to make this. I want to actually have this pull all the stuff from my WordPress block editor, because I don't care to create a bunch of content here inside Pinegrow. I'm using this to build a theme, and I want that theme to be controlled by blocks that I can create in another file or any other blocks that I have inside of WordPress. So this is only going to pull my page contents, and I do that by using the post content action. So under post smart actions, I'm just going to grab the post content action, add it here. I'm going to export that theme. And now what you see when I refresh is I've got my header that we created, and all this lorem ipsum text is my post content. When I edit page, that's what all this is. Cool, cool. All right. All right, I'm happy with my page.html. That's my page theme, done and done. Now let's go back to our template hierarchy, and we'll do our we'll do our single.php, and that'll handle our posts. Go away, Elementor. Why do I even have you up still? Okay, so back in here, and we're going to do single.php, add new, single.html. Again, because creating the HTML file lets me design it, and then WordPress actions are going to make that, my HTML, my file name .php. Come over here, go.html, and WordPress action. It's now a WordPress page. It's going to export it the right way. I'll grab a section for my body. Yep, even easier than that. Let's just get super lazy, because I'm all about super lazy. I've got my section there. I'm just going to copy this whole thing. Copy. Paste. Done. All right, I've got my section. Awesome. George is in here late to the party, but I'm glad you did this. Work on a project now where I'm going to use it and need to knock the dust off. Cool. Good to have you, George. Hope this doesn't completely turn you off of Pinegrow. But yeah, so I've got my page template. Now I have my post template, which at the moment is exactly the same as my page template. And you notice I did not do that funny apply master page thing here. So we don't see our header and footer inside Pinegrow. But when we go to a blog page, that's my blog index. Let's just open up a blog post manually. When I open up a blog post, it shows everything the way that it's supposed to, because on export is when it's applying the template. Let's just go ahead and apply the master template here, just so I can see a little bit better what this is going to look like in real time. All right, so again, I have my section here that has my container. It also has post content. I do want this page, my blog post page, to be a little bit different, so I'll make a sidebar. Wonder if we have anything in our block templates that's a little bit different. Yeah, and because of reasons, doesn't realize that this is a Bootstrap page yet, so I'm just going to close it and we'll reopen it. And now it knows that it's a Bootstrap page. When I do insert, it pulls up the things that are there for Bootstrap. So I'm going to see if we have any fun sidebar blocks that are pre-made. Features and services. Context, footers, columns, maybe a column. Oh, that's boring. Features and services, content, maybe content block. No, that's not what I want. Okay, I'll do my own. Not a problem. All right, so for this, I'm going to do 2 columns, make it like 3/4 for the content area, and then 1/4 for a sidebar. So how do I want to approach this? List. I'm going to do it in Pug because it's just easier for me to think about what I'm going to do there. So I want a, before I do anything, I'm taking this post content WordPress action off of here. So now when I refresh, you can see there's no content. Starting from scratch. I've got my container, I've got my site content, yada, yada, yada. So inside of here is where I'm going to build out my columns. So I want a div, then under that, I want a div for my content. So I'll give that a class of content, div dot sidebar. Div dot post content wrapper. All right, so I've got that, and I'm going to drop it here inside my container. And this is the fun stuff because we can see I use that pug, which just let me do this shorthand, and it's created those 3 divs for me in that structure with the classes preset for me. All right, so this I'm going to turn into a grid. Edit CSS grid, create CSS grid, set this guy to auto, and I just want 2 columns here. And for this one, I want it to be 60%. Yeah, make it 70%. This one will do is 30%. And I want a gap of 2 rems. Column and row gap of 2 rems. Super duper simple CSS grid layout. And here inside my content, I'm going to add another div. And that's going to get my content, my post content. And over here inside my sidebar, what do I want inside my sidebar? Let's add a div for a wrapper. And here I want to do, let's do a loop. What the hell? Why not? So I'll just do a list of titles of my latest posts. So I will do a heading 2, and that's going to be the title. And then underneath of that, I'll make another div. Sorry, I'm mumbling. I'll try not to mumble. So another div inside there, and we'll just do spans. Or my, now I'll make those H3s. All right, so I'll take the span and I'm going to right click on this and I'll say transform. This is really cool. I love being able to just change what something is just by right clicking on there and saying H3. Okay, so this is going to be here too. This I'm going to say latest posts, and this I'm going to say going to be my post title, and then underneath there, I actually want to wrap this with an anchor. Because I don't want it to be just a title. I want it to actually link someplace and do something. All right, so I've got that wrapped in an anchor. Do not want that to say link, so go away. And I want to do a paragraph with a short excerpt. Okay, so that's going to say latest posts. This is going to be my link. Post link. Going to be my post title. And this is going to be my post excerpt. And that's going to be my repeated element. And this is going to hold my show posts. Show posts. And we'll do a custom query. Post type post. Create a date down. And I only want to show, I'll just leave that. I'm going to let it query all of them. I don't care. Range of items, I only want to show the first 5. So I'll show my first, or my most recent 5 posts. So range of items to show is 0 to 4 because we start from 0. I say that out loud every time because I have to remind myself that we start from 0. Items container, cool, default is that, great. My item to loop is that. I don't think I've ever put another element in between my items container and a looped item. We'll see how that works. Cool. Save that, export it. Now let's see what happens when I refresh this. There we go. So super simple and admittedly ugly post template, but there we have it. We've got our content from the post body. We look at it. That's our post body content. And here's our sidebar with the heading of latest posts and post title with the excerpt, next post title, excerpt, yada, yada, yada. All right, so now we have our page title. We have our page title, page template, post template, index template. And like I said, I'm not making this pretty, I'm making it work. What do we want to do next? I think I'll just do frontpage.html. What the hell? And that's going to be really easy too. As a matter of fact, I'm going to base it right off of our page.html. So I'll just right click on this, say duplicate. We'll do front.page.html. All right, open that guy up. Because in reality, there's nothing different about this front page than there would be on a normal page. And in a lot of sites that I do, the front page will be a little bit special. It might have like a thicker header section, or it might have some extra stuff in there. But since we're doing most of this with blocks, we don't really need to do much else. Because we could control it all with blocks if we wanted to. Matter of fact, let's do this. Let's do this. Because yeah, it probably does make sense to put a hero section in here. So let's go back. I'm going to grab our page.html. And the way we have this set up right now, we just got our header and we go straight into the body content. Nobody does that for real. So rather than do that, I'm going to throw a hero section in there. I'll grab one of these pre-made guys. Let's see what these look like when they are not responsibly sized. One that looks like a hero. There we go. This looks very heroic. There, I'll grab that. There's my hero. There's my hero. My heroic hero. The other thing that I like to do when I create these pages is I like to set it up so that one of my views is the desktop view, but I can also see what's going on the mobile view side by side. I do not like that color. Why is that such a terrible color? You know, I don't like this hero section at all. Sorry, Emmanuel, I know you made this. I'm sure you worked hard on it, but I don't like it. So let's replace that. So I'll come in here to insert. I'm going to find one to replace it with. Yeah, not a huge fan of this either, but I'll use this one instead. So I could drag and drop and delete and do all that stuff if I wanted to. Otherwise, I can just click on this little replace it button. There we go. That works better. So now we've got a hero section. Now here's the thing is, if I wanted to do a hero per page, I could turn this into a block that could be controlled page by page, you know, just inserted and handled that way. If I wanted a single hero section that had dynamic data, then what I could do is I could make a customizer section, and if I want dynamic data, I could just create some custom fields and have it pull from that page or post's custom fields and populate this stuff. So that might be one way that I would do it, is I would have like the page title in here and the page featured image in there, where if we didn't want to use featured image, I could have another custom field where we put in an image that was pulled. And then same thing, I'd have another custom field for, you know, some text that went in there, and another custom field for the button label and the button link. But for our purposes today, I'm just going to leave this as is, and I'm going to make it so that we have the same hero everywhere across the board, because I really don't want to mess with custom fields in this, what's supposed to be quick demo. This demo is turning out to be a lot longer than quick. But what I do want to show you is how to make a thing, a reusable template part. So we're going to make this hero section a reusable template part. We're going to create it once, and then we can just reference it on any other page, and it'll get reused like that. I'm going to call this YT hero, and because this is the first time that we are making this, we're going to define that template part, and now we can reference it anywhere else. So I've created that template on page.html. Now let's go over to our post. Yep. Let's do this. I'm going to add an action to this because I do want it to pull the page title. So I've got the heading here. I just want that to get replaced by the page title, and we'll take this image and have it get replaced by the featured image. And why not excerpt? I would not do this in real life, but what the heck? And because I'm doing stuff, let's just get rid of that button because I don't want that button. Okay. Now these changes that I just made is basically going to make a PHP file as a template part for this, or a reusable part for this thing that I just created. So now I can come over to our single.html, which again, if we look at the structure, we've got a container that has these guys. I want to add above that our hero. So I will grab another span, plop it in there, shrink that down so it's a little bit less unsightly. And this span is going to be reusable template part. And instead of defining the part, here I'm going to select it. And I can't select it because I have not exported my theme yet. Now that I've exported my theme, I can select my template part. And why is this should not be a span. Why did I make that a span? This should be a section. There we go. That's better. And it should not say this is a span. There we go. So now I have this section that's getting replaced by that reusable template part. It's kind of confusing to look at this because you can't really see anything in there, which is why for a lot of things, let's come over here and show you this. Pinegrow will put in a basically a placeholder padding kind of area, just so that we can see visually that there is placeholder content. But when I'm using Pug or a few other circumstances, it's not going to put that in for me. And we end up with something like this where we can't see anything. So let's just give that a little bit of, here, I'll just throw some lorem ipsum text inside there. I don't think that lorem ipsum is going to come through. We'll find out. Export this theme. All right, refresh. There we go. Okay, cool. So now it's taken. Now it's taken our template that we created, that reusable template part for the hero section, and it applied that to our post. So now we've got that on our post. We also have it on our page. This page does not seem to have a featured image. So let's just create one. We'll use that. Why not? There we go. And we've got our hero section that has title, excerpt, featured image. And that blog post that we did before too. And their blog post, same thing. Title, excerpt, image. And that's all inside of a template. Let's go back here to our file system. And we can see, where does it create those? It creates those in assets, right? No, in ink. Where does it create my template parts? Oh, I guess it does here in the root. So it created my reusable template as this yt_hero.php. And if we look in there, it looks an awful lot like HTML with just a little bit of PHP in there, telling it to get the title, the excerpt, and the image. And that's that same thing that just gets plopped into the PHP for all those other places. So for example, if I open up our page, you can see that page.php file. This is the page template. It gets the header. It gets my template part for the hero. It has the container with the body content. That is the block editor content. I keep wanting to call it Gutenberg, and I need to get myself out of the habit of saying Gutenberg. And then at the bottom, we have the footer. So this is just a regular old WordPress template. All right. So we have a single, we have page. Front page is doing a whole lot of nothing at this point. So for front page, I would typically want a different kind of hero. So maybe I would do something a little bit more heroic. Let's find a big heroic one here. All right, front page. What the hell did I just do? I did not mean to drag it there. There we go. Front page, giant heroic hero. Then we don't jump into the Gutenberg stuff. If I wanted to, I could put controls on this so that I can edit it with either a custom field or dynamic data or whatever I want to do. But okay, we're getting somewhere now. Let's go to our home page. And I did not export that theme. There we go. Now I exported the theme. And there we have it, our heroic hero with our header, our footer, and no body content. So let's, I don't know, I'm just going to grab, we'll do a media library with a bunch of weird stuff in here. Isn't that the best homepage you've ever seen? But you can see we've got our homepage template, and it's different from the others. And if I wanted to, I could create all sorts of blocks to go in there. I'm not going to do that at the moment because we are going to work on more templates. All right, single page, front page is done. My archive and my home are going to look really, really similar, and I'm still avoiding doing that because I hate doing them. Comments, I am not doing comments because I generally disable contents using a function. I hate contents. They're the worst. So I'll disable them. I don't need to worry about the template for it then. I do need to create a template for my 404 page, and I will need to create one for my search page, which again is going to look an awful lot like my home.php and my archive.php. So let's create, hell, I can't avoid it anymore. I'll create my home.php. Add new page. And again, this is one of those weird WordPress naming conventions because WordPress started off as a blogging platform, thinking that your blog roll is going to be on the homepage, and it transformed into a real CMS. But it still has those same odd naming conventions. So now the front page is front-page.html or .php, and this home.php ends up being the blog page. So let's just take a look at what a WordPress blog would look like. It's going to have some sort of blog roll. It's going to have a list of blog posts in some fashion. Sometimes it's going to have a sidebar. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes it'll have search. Sometimes it won't. I'm going to make this pretty simple though, because I don't want this to go on forever. And eventually I need to pick up my kid and take him to karate. Yeah, I really did not plan this out at all. All right. So again, we're going to want to start everything with some boilerplate stuff. So I'll grab my page.html. There we go. I'll just come here and I'm going to copy my site content section from page.html because it has most of the stuff that I want to begin with. It already has my template part for the hero. It has my container with post content template part. It's got my site content section in there. So I will just copy that. Why do I have a code editor up? I will just, hey, look at that. Control C opens up a code editor. And add that to the list of bugs. I will not Control C that. I will copy that by right clicking. And then I'll just paste it. Let's see if Control V works the way I expect it to. Yep, Control V works fine. All right, cool. Site content. I want to see my master page stuff around it. Yep, this is not a, I have not made this a WordPress page yet, so it didn't do my apply master page to it yet. So I'll come over here to the root and to WordPress actions and page settings. Yeah, I want to make a note of this too. That the WordPress actions don't show up automatically like they do on the desktop. I'm not sure what I had to do to make it come up. I basically clicked another element and then had to come back, and then WordPress action showed up. But it should have just shown up with that little message saying, would you like to create it? Anyway, so now that we've got that, and this is actually a WordPress page, I can apply master page. It inserts my header and my footer. And now I'm ready to start doing something. So I don't want this to be post content. I mean, I suppose I could. Maybe why not? Maybe this is my home, so yeah, not something I'm going to be able to directly edit. So yeah, I'm going to take my post content off of there because this is just going to be a show posts section. So let's see, do we have anything? Yep. And again, I need to close and reload this to get it to recognize that it's Bootstrap page. There we go. Now I can see my blocks. Section, there's my container. And in here, I've got hero blocks. Let's go to my blog post blocks. And all right, what's a good one to use? There's so many. Maybe I'll use this one. Postbox B using cards. Oh, here we go. There, I'll use this one. All right. Cool. So it looks like we have categories, things. All right. So these don't actually have any WordPress actions attached to them. These are just in here for styling. And we're going to turn this into a real blog grid. So if I export this, ooh, some parts have multiple definitions. Yeah, that's why, because I copied and pasted. So yeah, I copied this section from another page and pasted it in here. So it told me this reusable part's being duplicated. So I don't want to define it here. I want to select it here because I already defined it on page.html. Export that theme. There we go. Cool. So now if I go to my blog static page, What am I doing wrong here? This should be home. Does this not work the way I think it's supposed to work? Am I being silly? Does this just need to be archive.php? Do I not even have a blog set here in my settings? I do. My menu's not showing the right thing. Okay. Sorry about that. Let's just fix my menu for a minute. So this blog page, go away. My blog page should be my post page. Yeah, it made me look like a complete fool. All right. And so I'll just change that back to the default, save, export. There we go, see? All right, so now, yes, home.php is the right template for the blog page. It just wasn't linked to the right blog page in my menu because live demo and all that. All right, so yeah, so here we have it. We've got a, this is all static content. This isn't actually pulling any of those weirdly named posts from my site. So let's change that. And we will do that by coming in. This is my container. And I'm going to use the show posts. And here we're going to use the main loop because it's our blog thing, our blog page. And this is going to show what I want it to show. For the first item, don't need to do that. Range of items to show. So I want to show I'll show them all. Why not? Set the ID, show no post text if there are none. Okay, items containers, first one. Repeated loop element is, let's make sure I actually have the real element selected. There we go. There's my one to be repeated. Save, export. Cool. And there. Dave McCann's texting me. Yeah, so interesting thing is we've got a bunch of these repeated elements, and then at the bottom we have two others that are pulling straight from here. A few reasons, because it always takes that first element in the list and uses it as the template. But because we've not told it to not export these, it's repeating this one over and over again for all the posts that we have inside of WordPress, and then it's showing these last two. So I'm going to select these last two and say don't export. Boom. And now I'm going to tell it what to replace each of these elements with inside of WordPress. So let's just take this and we're going to expand the whole thing. Expand. All right. And this is going to be our post link. And this is going to be our featured image. And over here, I've got a wrapper that's going to hold our tags and categories. And I want to do categories, I think. Yeah. As a link list. I think those are categories. We'll find out. We'll do categories as a link list. Here we'll do another link. This is not generally how I would create my cards. It's a perfectly fine way, but it's just not the way that I would typically do it. Post title, paragraph text is going to be my excerpt. Coming down, this is going to be our author. And author field 1 is going to be, excuse me. See our display name and the post link. Got it. And then here, do we have one for author image? Let's find out. Gravatar maybe? I'm sure there's a way to do this. Get avatar, there it is. So it's going to grab it's going to replace this little shadow man with the author avatar. Make the size of this, we'll leave that as the default. And then if there's not one defined, it's going to use the mystery man, and it's going to replace the element. Okay. And then this span with the date, I'm just going to replace that with my post date. If I didn't want to use the built-in date settings that are in WordPress, I can take this smart action and click on this little guy to change it into a regular WordPress action. I get a warning box. And now I can change the date format. So I could write PHP format, FJY or whatever I wanted to do here for my format. Otherwise, it's going to use that get option date format function. This is checking WordPress for the date format and putting it in there. I could replace the content. I could replace the whole element. I could insert before or after the element. Lots and lots of options here. I don't want to mess with it. I like it just the way it is. So I'll just go back and save and export. And boom shakalaka. Check it out. Right. I seem to have effed up my avatar for my author. Maybe that's because it's an SVG and not a real picture. That's probably what it is because I have this as an SVG and not an image. Get rid of this path. And we're going to transform that into image. And I don't see image here in my transform, so I'm just going to click on the 3 dots and transform it to an image that way. Now, I haven't done this yet. This is normally the way that I work is I'll have the code editor up at the bottom so that I can see what's happening in the code as I go through it. I don't know why I'm not doing that today, though. But looking at that, it didn't actually change a lot of the stuff inside of the element. Oh, look, I use post author action on author image. Thank you. Not get avatar. I'll do that. All right, so I changed this to an image, but what you see here is we've got a bunch of the stuff that's really only relevant for an SVG. That's just going to be weird for an image. So I'm going to just delete all of this. Yeah, I'm just going to delete all of it. Yeah. I'll go back to the SVG. And we're going to see if our post author action on this does anything for me. All right. Cross my fingers. Export. No, sir. Knew it's because of the SVG. See, now I have to go creating my own element, and I'm going to have to style it and do all that stuff that I don't feel like doing. Jeez, come on, guys. You spoiled me, I tell you. Width, I'm just going to make this pixels. 48 pixels. I don't want to use pixels. 3 rems. How about that? $48 rems, or 48 picks. Cool. It's ugly, but it'll get the job done. I'll get rid of my image there. And this is where I will put my post author and field ID, author image. Look at that. That is pretty cool. Oh, and I guess it should default size. All right. Let's see what happens when I do this. Sorry, this is another one that I don't use very often, so refresh. Why, oh, why is it not showing? I don't know. Edit the image. I'm sure I'm doing something really wrong here. And if I wasn't live, this would all make total sense. But for now, we don't need no stinking authors. Now I'm just going to feel like a fool. All right. Anyway, you get the concept. So we've got a blog roll here. And yeah, so this put our categories in there. It added the categories, added a separator for us by default. If I had changed this to a not smart action, I can set what I want the separator to be, and each of these is already linked for us. All right, cool. So this is my blog category, which, because I'm completely and totally lazy, is also going to be my archive. Yep. Cool. I'm really that lazy. My blog and my archive are just exactly the same. Only one goes to my main blog page. The other one handles all the other archives in the world. So it handles my archive page with author archive and category archive and all that good stuff. As a matter of fact, had I not done that, I have to wonder what would have happened had I tried to get to an archive page before. But anyway, so now that I have an archive page set up, I can hit any of these archive links and actually get what I expect to get. All right, so what other do I need to do? I just need to create a 404 and I'm done. So my 404, I'm going to base that off of, I'm just going to base it off of page.html. Why won't it let me do that? Oh, that's why. Page 404.html. And here, open it up. And now I'm going to export that as, where are you, 404? There you are, 404.php. So it doesn't necessarily need to be named the same as what the template's going to be. I can export it as something different if I want to. This is also a great way if I have a particular page and I want a template to only apply to like one page. I can do the same thing. I can do export as, and I can do words are failing me. So it would just be like page dash slug or page dash id.php. Same thing if I wanted to do it for a post type. So one of the projects that I'm working on right now is for a church, and they've got a post type for all their sermons because they create a post for each of their sermons that has a bunch of metadata about that sermon, as well as YouTube links and all that good stuff. So I've created a template for that custom post type that just uses the single dash sermons .php template file. And that's how you create things like that. Yeah, so it's, again, once you understand the template hierarchy, it's sort of, and how all these things are supposed to work, the rest of it really is pretty easy. And it's kind of easy to mentally map what's going on between the WordPress way of doing things and the page builder way that's just been becoming ingrained in everyone's body for whatever reason. I'm going to blame Elementor for it because Elementor deserves a lot of blame. All right, so in this 404 page, I'm going to say page not found. And yeah, nothing else. I could put a search here if I wanted to. I'm not going to mess with that today. Export. Again, I keep messing with my page template part. Yeah, go away. Thank you. Save. Refresh. And I'm going to select that YT hero. Awesome. There it is. So now let's go to something that I know is not going to work. No. Interesting. Why did it not pick that up as my template? This is exported as 404.php. Let's take a look here. What's going on? Why is my system going down for reboot? I've got a 404.php there. Template part, YT hero, container, content. That's why. All right, so I don't want this to be a reusable part. I'm just going to take that away. And now, save that. Export. Interesting that that's not working. Anybody that wants to jump in, please jump in and tell me why my 404 might not be working. Take another look at my template. So I've got my hero in there now. It's no longer a template part because I removed that definition. Oh, that's why. Maybe because I still have WordPress actions defined on these. Let's remove those and see what's going on. Right, that's not someone else that suggested it to me. That's just me looking at it and talking to myself because I talk to myself. Ah, there it is. Yeah, so it must have been cranky about having these WordPress functions in there to replace some of the text when it was invalid for some reason. I think that's kind of odd, but hey. Yeah, so now we've got a 404 template. I'm sure I could play around with this more and figure out exactly what was going on, but again, you sort of get the drift. And really, that's what it comes down to. We now have a site that is fully functional. I've got templates for all our different page types. I've got a working footer where I can replace this text in there. Like I said before, if I wanted to make each of these menus, I could totally do that. If I wanted to make another content section so that people could replace their contact information here in the footer, we could do that also. Same thing for our copyright stuff at the bottom. But really once you understand this hierarchy, everything else falls into place. And this isn't a Pinegrow is difficult sort of thing. This is or it's not a Pinegrow is difficult, or it's not a Pinegrow is different than a page builder sort of thing. It's a Pinegrow works the way WordPress works sort of thing. And all the page builders have trained people to work in a different way. And why? When each of these page builders work different from each other. But none of them seem to really work the way WordPress works. So I don't get that. But yeah, Pinegrow, it just works the way WordPress works. You start thinking about it from a WordPress perspective, and bam, you got it. So there it is. In like an hour, I created a fully custom WordPress theme. I'm going to go back and exit out of here because I want you to see this is a theme. Like, I can pick this up and I can move this to a completely different site if I wanted to. There's nothing in here that is, you know what, why am I'm going to hate myself for this. I'm going to just pop up another window. I'm going to spin up a site. Sorry, you're not going to see me log into Grid Pane. But I am going to spin up another site, and I'm going to just export this theme that we created onto a brand new site because I can. All right, and while that's logging in, I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to grab, I'm going to make a zip file of my theme. This is another one of those things that's nice about working on the desktop version of Pinegrow versus the WordPress. Is the desktop version, I just come right over to Explorer or Finder and zip up the directory, and I'm good to go. Because this works directly on the server, I've got to like SSH into it and do all sorts of funniness. But it does save me from having to use a local environment to work on it. So there's pros and cons to both. I always use tar when I'm logged into Unix too, so I don't even know what the zip commands are. So let's see, zip. So now I've got my YouTube zip file. It looks like it got my subdirectories, cool. And then I'm just going to grab that zip file and download it to my computer. SFTP, connect. Like I said, live, uncensored. Don't know what the hell I'm doing. Where is my thingamabob? The development server, htdocs, WP content, themes. Hi, there you are. Cool. Come over to a downloads directory. Where are my downloads? Not documents, downloads. Thank you. Holy cow, I forgot how much I have in my downloads directory. Transfer over. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to open up Windows Explorer, and I'm not going to do that here because I don't want you seeing just how messy my downloads directory is. There it is. It's pretty bad. And what did I call this? I called it youtube.zip. I'm going to just drag that to my desktop. All right. So here, this is my brand new, shiny YouTube test site. And I'm going to come over to, before I even do that, let's just load up some data. So let's do a import. Run the importer. And I'm going to load up that dummy data that I have stored for theme testing. There, miscellaneous. Yep. So I've got this theme unit test data, And I'm going to choose, I don't want the accessibility. And we'll call this theme demos and theme review team. I think if you look on GitHub for theme unit test, you can pull up this data somewhere. So I'm pretty sure it was this XML that I grabbed, and then I had to do something funny to get it to work with the newer version of WordPress. But yeah, I've been carrying these files around for a while now. And it's great just to test things out and make sure that menus work the way that I expect them to, and it's better than using something like Dummy Press to put dummy data in. Okay, all done, cool. So let's take a look. I've got some posts that it made. Yay, posts. I should have some pages. Yay, pages. I'll come over to my appearance themes. Add new. No, stop that. No, seriously, upload theme. Now I'm going to just drag that YouTube zip file that I created before. And I just, again, I went onto my server and I zipped up the directory for my theme. I'm going to install that. Theme installed successfully. Live preview. Ain't that gorgeous? Activate and publish. Boom. There you have it. Native WordPress theme. We don't have a menu or anything else, so let's fix that. Site identity. Do I have a logo? Do I have anything in my media library that could work as a logo? Maybe. Sure, I'll use this. Whoa. Whoa. There's my new site. Oh, Jesus, why am I doing that? I should have just grabbed something from Logo Epson. All right, menus. I've got my short menu. And I'll use that for my primary. I just can't, with this thing. Sorry. I really wish there was a way to download a ping file or something. Is there a way to? Is there a good way to make a ping file? Yeah. I don't like it, but it'll work. Six for blah, 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 blah. Site identity. Yeah, this is much more logo-like. And doesn't push my menu all the way off the screen. It's still too big. But that comes down to the fact that I spent no time at all designing this header. So I'm going to publish this. And also, if you remember, we created that section here in the customizer. So we have that there. There you go. This is a theme. I mean, seriously, this is a freaking theme. This is not a page builder. This is not a hack. This is not a anything. This is a theme. So, try doing that with your Oxygen breakdance Elementor thing. You can't. let's take a look in this zip file. These are theme files. If I was to go to Theme Forest and you were to download a theme from there, theme forest, yeah, that's a great example. If I was to buy a $100,000 theme from Prada, they would have all these same elements in there, and it would look damn similar. So this is why Pinegrow. This is it right here. This is not something that Page Builder X is going to go out of business and you can no longer support or maintain. This is not something where 3 years down the road, it's not usable. Themes that were created using standard PHP and standard parts like this, there's themes like that have from 9-10 years ago that are still functioning perfectly fine. It's when you start adding all these extra plugins and all these extra components to it that things start breaking down. But this sort of thing is stable. This sort of thing lasts. This sort of thing is sustainable and maintainable. These are the reasons why my clients hire me to give them a product, because they don't need to worry about it. They can hand this off to any developer who knows how to work in WordPress, and they'll be able to maintain it. They'll be able to expand on it. They'll be able to work on it later on. If I were to get hit by a bus, there's nothing proprietary in here. If Pinegrow were to go out of business, there's nothing proprietary in here. This is all standard WordPress. I can't stress that enough, how important that is, and why this is the big differentiator, and why this is the tool that we chose to use in my business. All right, enough rambling, enough ranting. You've seen it. I created a theme. You saw me struggling with Bootstrap. You saw me F up, and you got to see the Pinegrow WordPress plugin live in action. So I'm sure the Pinegrow guys were sitting there like biting their nails going, oh God, don't F up, don't F up. But yeah, it worked pretty damn well. So I'm happy. And yeah, reach out to me, shoot me a message, shoot me an email, whatever you need to do if you have any questions or if you want to chat. All right, talk to you guys later.